Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. I am Lauren Rosen, licensed marriage and family therapist. I am waiting on Kelley Franke, also a licensed marriage and family therapist, so we can discuss OCD and meditation on today's episode of Purely OCD. So thanks for joining us. We'd like to say hello, share where you're tuning in from. I don't know what just happened. Instagram asked, oh, hello.
Is this a good angle?
Yeah, well, I can't see your eyes, so
That's great.
there's that. Hello from London as well. And somebody just asked, can they ask questions? And yes, you may. We are going to try and stay on the topic of OCD and meditation today. And a lot of people from the UK today. I like it. Representing. And then Alberta, thank you. Oh, Boca Raton.
Ooh.
All across the world, actually. I almost said the United States, but the UK is not part of the United States anyway, nor
It's
is
not.
Vancouver, Canada. So, welcome to this week's episode of Purely OCD. We're going to be talking about OCD and meditation.
Welcome.
As sort of an extension of our discussion of acceptance, which we did 2 episodes on over 2 weeks. Yeah. So if you're interested in checking those out as for a more in-depth discussion about that, you're more than welcome to. But obviously acceptance is part of what meditation supports in OCD recovery.
Yes. And it's not always necessary, like a formal meditation, if that's what we're talking about.
You're right. It's not always necessary. And we can sort of talk about mindfulness activities that are
we prefer
not meditation.
You to be doing a meditation practice. Let me reframe that. We prefer and we suggest that those things happen.
It might benefit you to meditate. I know it has benefited me tremendously in my recovery.
Same. Maybe we talk about a few modifications too, because people who have trauma can sometimes have a difficult time as well. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah. Meditation.
Should we start about talking about what we mean when we're talking about meditation? Because there are a lot of different kinds of meditation. I was actually just talking to my father-in-law about all the different kinds of meditation that there are.
Yeah, actually, I'm not familiar with different types. I've heard of like transcendental.
Dental. It was close. I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it.
It's been a while since I heard that word.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are the other ones?
Well, so transcendental, I don't know too much about it goes by TM. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that you're given a mantra that is specific to you, and that the focus of your meditation is this mantra.
Right.
And in that respect, it's not dissimilar from the kind of mindfulness meditation that Kelley or I might teach somebody to support in their OCD recovery, which is the anchor isn't necessarily a phrase or a mantra, but the breath or the sounds in one's environment. There's also people hear meditation, they might think of visualizations, which often that exists too as a form, but is different again than maybe what we might teach. There's also metta or maitri, depending on which.
I don't know this one.
Yeah. So metta is loving kindness. I think metta is Sanskrit and maitri, I don't know. I think that's in the Tibetan tradition, whatever. The long of the short is, I love that you're adjusting. Adjust away, girlfriend. That the practices are done to try to foster a sense of loving kindness. So there are gratitude practices. There are all sorts of things. But when we're talking about meditation in the context of OCD recovery, all of these things could, in theory, have a place in your life or in your recovery. But mindfulness, focused attention, mindfulness-based meditation is usually a good starting point. And then there's also, and then we can sort of move on to practicalities.
Yes.
Open awareness meditation, which Kelley and I actually heard a monk that we've mentioned on this podcast before, Youngi Mingyur Rinpoche, talk about. Such a cute guy.
He is cute. Yeah.
He's the best. And basically, the idea is to just be aware of what you're aware of. So noticing with mindfulness, this non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. Oh, I'm noticing my breath. Oh, I'm noticing the sound that I just heard. Oh, I'm right. Like, and not necessarily in that formal of a way. I'm describing it.
It's just whatever comes up in the present moment.
And watching that.
Yep. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really unfocused today.
It's good.
So,
we're just going to keep on bringing it back to the present moment as we would if we were meditating.
Yes. Great. And I would say the addition to that is that sometimes I will offer this as an exposure. So if somebody, instead of grounding in the breath, maybe it's grounding in the feeling, like whatever's coming up for that person. If they're feeling, if their obsession is around sadness, right? We're going to ground ourselves in the feeling of sadness. So when your mind drifts, we're going to come back. Remember, we're thinking about sadness. We're feeling sadness.
Right.
Not thinking, we're feeling sadness. Yeah. Come back.
And all of the physical sensations that are sadness.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the only modification I would say.
Yeah. Well, and I love in terms of exposure, and we talked about this when we talked about sensory motor OCD, I think, but oftentimes it is triggering for people to watch the breath.
Yes.
Or, focus on some sort of physical sensation. And so it can be an exposure unto itself to do a basic mindfulness meditation.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. So, yeah, anyway, you might not start out with that if you have anxiety related to your awareness of the breath. You might start by holding your attention or resting your attention on the felt experience of sitting, right? What does it feel like? I can feel my seat touching the cushion. I can feel my back against the chair, whatever.
Yeah. And even in what's that book by Bruce Hyman, which I love his book, The OCD Workbook. That's what it is. It's a really basic name, but for some reason my brain can never remember it.
Well, because it could be a million things, right? It could be like the OCD handbook. Yes, that's a good. Yeah, thank you.
So, anyways, he has a great thing in there about attention shifting. So it's kind of like this practice, because when we have sensory motor stuff, it's we're hyper aware and hyper focused on one particular bodily sensation. And this practice is more of shifting your mind with a noise in the room. And, that's the most important awareness you have right now. Ground yourself in that noise and then quickly shift to how you feel physically in the contact of your body to the seat, like what Lauren was just talking about. Then shifting your emotion quickly to another sound in the room. And it's basically just the point that's being proved is that you actually can shift your attention of where you want to put it. So I have a sound machine in here, which I loathe, but I have it because I work from home. And it's all the time going. And when I hate it the most is when I'm noticing it the most and I'm giving it so much attention versus coming back to the present moment with writing notes or speaking with a client. Is like, it's still there. The noise is still there. That damn white noise machine. I can't wait till the day it breaks.
And I can just turn that bad boy off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then noticing it's there, I don't have to give it all my attention. I don't have to keep, like, the fact that I hate it so much shows that I've given it way too much attention. So I'm really not practicing what I preach.
But you are, because you're practicing coming back and to the present and accepting what is, which is the whole point.
True.
You know,
True.
we can't change the fact that we're going to have negative immediate experiences secondary to some
it's
stimuli.
So true,
though.
No,
yeah.
Good point, because I was stuck though for a while, and I was having a hard time focusing initially, because usually our sound machines are outside of our office. But anyways, that was a really long-winded explanation.
No, but I think
of attention training.
Yeah. And actually I did a training with Dr. Jason, I think his name is Jason Goodman, and he was talking about attentional training. And I'll kind of explain a little bit of what he was doing. It's not dissimilar to what Bruce Hyman was describing, so I wonder if they're of the same ilk. But I actually did this exercise with him, that it's basically there are a number of sounds that are introduced at the same time, and you're trying to train your attention on one of the sounds. And that doesn't mean that you can't shut out the other sounds. You're just trying to prioritize the focus of this one thing. And that allows for your ability to shift your attention, which, if we can bring it back to OCD, the way that this is most important is that, in my opinion anyway, there are a lot of ways, but one of the ways is that when you are ruminating, or if you have a propensity toward rumination or some sort of mental compulsion, the ability to say, oh, I'm doing that thing again. Let me disengage from that and bring my attention back to the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be necessarily the breath or the sitting posture or whatever, but being sort of diving into the sensory experience of what's going on right now is what we're trying to practice, continually diving back in to hear
what's real, right?
Right.
Because our mind is all just, this is not something that everyone can agree is all happening. It's reality, the five senses.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening right now with me and around me?
Right.
But no, you're totally right. I should retract, is that Bruce Hyman talks about at the end, like putting all the sounds together and then noticing you can move. And I think John Hirschfield talks about this in the book him and Shala wrote, which
the Everyday Mindfulness for OCD.
Yeah, it's definitely my top 5. It's right here. But
boop, boop.
And it's small, so it's great size, but
it is.
They talk about it in terms of listening to a song and noticing, like, okay, hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Noticing the song and saying, like, oh, there's the piano, there's the trumpet, there's the guitar, and being able to shift around. Sorry, I know you're talking about the other stuff, but
no. I think that's great, because I love that you brought up the attentional training, and I think if people are a little bit intimidated by meditation, or even for some of my clients, like teenagers, I'll say, what's your favorite song? And then we pick a song, and trying to rest your attention, or first of all, to hear all of the different parts, because when
you're really present when you do that.
Right.
And not in your head.
Yes. And you're in the experience of it. You're in this sort of, you're in the richness of it. And then you can try to train your attention on one of the things, like the background vocals or the rhythm section, or maybe there's a cowbell.
Ooh, even better. Boom.
I got a fever, baby. And the only prescription is more cowbell. I hope everyone understands that reference. Anywho, so
yes. Going back to meditation, it's a practice, and it's a skill that you have to learn. And I do think that so often people try it and then they go, oh, that was useless, number one, because it did nothing for me. Number 2,
I hated it. It was uncomfortable.
And then number 2, I hated it because it was uncomfortable. Or number 3, which is I was terrible at it. So when an OCD therapist is trying to tell you about meditation, we've heard all of those, just so you know. We've heard all
Everyone's
of
bad
them.
at meditation, by the way. If that's the barometer that we're using, if we're supposed to, if in our minds, sorry, I
Yes.
totally interrupted you.
No, go.
I just
In
get
our minds.
excited, you know.
I
In
know.
our minds, if our goal is to have a brain that doesn't get distracted, you're
We're
in
on
the
the
wrong
wrong
body.
planet.
Yep. Sorry, but that's not going to work.
Then a
That's
lobotomy is in order, which is not
yes.
funny. I recognize that. But honestly, OCD has been so bad at points in my life personally that I've been like, there's no other way out.
Right. No,
And
for sure. For sure.
and then here we are talking about mindfulness. So we have a lot of hurdles to leap. It's hard and it's going to take time. It's like what's the right word? Like a delayed gratification almost.
It is. And at the same token, you're not practicing it with any sort of end goal in mind. You're just practicing. You're trying to get better at this skill of noticing when you've wandered so that you can come back. Because for most people with OCD, they live their lives in their minds and lost in their minds, really.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so the more we can bring you back into your lived experience, the better. And also just to notice that you're not in your lived experience, which is one of the other true benefits of meditation, is the ability to see like, oh, I'm thinking. I just thought I was living my life. But all the time, when you stop, and the benefit of doing a traditional meditation, closing your eyes, being in this sort of vacuum where nothing's going on except for maybe your breath or the sounds that you can hear, that you're going to get distracted, right?
That's the point.
That's the whole point.
The point is actually learning to come back.
Yes.
Just so everyone knows.
Exactly. And you're going to notice more when you're thinking, when you're having an emotion, when you have an urge, right? Like, oh, I want to itch my shoulder right now. All of these things become more clear to you because you don't have all the distraction of everyday life.
Yes, exactly. And then what I mean by a delayed gratification, what I mean is that when we're talking about meditation practice, when we're integrating it daily, 3 to 20 minutes or however long it is you meditate for, that's where we build this foundation of now in your everyday life, you're, walking around the block and all of a sudden you're like, oh, like I just naturally am being present now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like integral. It's like the way we think.
Yes.
Now.
That's such a good point. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? You're building a muscle. You're learning how to flex something. And it's not each individual workout. I mean, if you're anything like me, it's going to be like a pain in the tuchus. But
I hate working out more than I hate the white noise machine. So. People keep saying it's going to get easier. And I'm like, I'm almost 40 and I hate it just as much, if not more. So
I think that it's funny because there's multiple layers to it, right? Like the initiation of it, though, I don't think ever gets easier because there's inertia, and the inertia is like, I don't want to freaking move. I want to.
Right. It's more totally. It's that integration of like, I need to work out.
Yes. Yeah. Somebody asked in the questions what the best time of day to meditate is. I don't think that there's a right answer. I think whenever you're going to make time is the best time. And the duration can be short. Again, if it's something that you're willing to do consistently. And the only other thing I will say on this subject is that I have found what have you found? What I have found in my journeys as a meditator is that if I wait until the end of the day, regularly throughout the day, I'm sort of like, oh, I got to do that. Oh, I got to do that. And then, so when I do it at the beginning of the day, there's okay. Like that thing is settled. And then it kind of informs the rest of my day. So I prefer to do it in the morning, but there's not a right time to do it.
Lauren's a non-procrastinator, folks. So it's, she's really good at that. She's just like on the ball.
Sometimes. That's not true though. I like in terms of I
No,
think
I
I
know.
didn't, well, and I appreciate that, but it's the amount of times I have procrastinated meditation and didn't
You've
like
learned.
it. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it now. Um, but yeah, do we want to answer some questions? I know we got to cut this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yep.
Hold one moment, please.
And my sister is on here. Hi, Renee.
Oh, Renee. Do y'all have recommendations? Okay, this is kind of meditation related. Do y'all
Okay.
have a recommendation on whether or not it's most helpful to use your mindfulness anchor as your response prevention for ERP work?
Wait, say that again. Sorry, I missed the first half.
Uh, do y'all have a recommendation on whether or not it's most helpful to use your mindfulness anchor? And I can't see the rest of it now because
Okay.
hold on. Mindfulness anchor as your response prevention for ERP work. I have thoughts, but do you have thoughts?
No, you start. You take the lead on this one.
So I would say that the the mindfulness meditation anchor is a proxy for the present moment in everyday life. I think saying, "Oh, this is going to be my anchor so that I don't compulse," it could get rigid and it could be problematic and could almost become compulsive, right? Like, I'm just going to come back to my breath every single time that I have
Yeah.
the desire to ruminate versus, all right, I'm going to just bring myself back to the present moment. And whether that's
Right.
the
It
breath
goes
or whatever.
right. And it goes into what I was saying earlier is like this this long-term investment, and is that after we're doing meditation for a while and it's become just part of our lifestyle, we integrate mindfulness tools as a new way of thinking, basically.
Yeah.
So the relapse prevention is really just you integrating mindfulness as a mindset, like of just how you go about your life and saying, oh, I just got triggered, let me come back, or let me actually be mindful about what my choice is like maybe I'm going to lean in and going with values and
Mm-hmm.
actually wrapping it into ACT, which is what we talked about for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I think the non-judgmental piece, the ability
Yes.
to see like, oh, I got caught. Oh, I got caught. Right? There's no judgment. There's no, I
Yeah.
was bad for getting caught. It's just, oh, back to the present. There it is. And I agree. It becomes part of how you operate the more that you practice, or you pivot more easily toward that approach, even if your tendency is um, to initially be resistant or to judge yourself for having the thoughts. One thing I will say though is I love this question in that I think that the whole benefit of mindfulness, well, like I said earlier, there's many, but one of the largest benefits for mindfulness is this component of being able to refocus on the present, because that's where everything that is happening in your life
That
is.
matters.
But it's your whole life. Right now is your whole life. And so is the next moment. And so is the
It's a
next
lot of
moment.
pressure.
I know.
I was just thinking
Sorry.
this weekend, I was like watching my husband and my daughter playing in the beach in the sand and the waves, and I was like, I'm feeling really anxious. I don't have any thoughts. And then I was like, oh no, like this, come back. And then I had this pleasant thought of like, there'll never be another moment like this, and I'm really enjoying it. And then OCD's like, you better really enjoy it, like really, really enjoy this, because it's gonna be gone at any second. And we don't know if you're enjoying it fully, are you? So you're welcome for that little anecdote.
Well, it's an important anecdote though, because it just demonstrates how anxiety can attack freaking anything. It's like, are you being present enough? Are you being mindful enough? And I think really trying to wear mindfulness like a loose garment and just,
Always, always.
yeah.
That's kind of like the slogan of OCD recovery, right? It's like
Mm,
loosen the grip with
yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
like don't hold too tightly.
Yeah. If you're gnashing your teeth, you're probably, you know, going to benefit from, you might benefit from taking a step back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hate to do this, but I do have to go get my daughter from school.
Well, I appreciate everybody showing up, you especially, my friend.
Yeah. Same to you.
For this conversation, and we're happy to continually discuss meditation and how it can benefit people with OCD and anxiety disorders.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Adieu.
Have a good week.
And you as well.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.